This past week, I broke a promise to myself. When I began this channel, I made the promise to myself that when I received criticism, I would not respond to it. Just let the person say what they're going to say and don't respond. If you respond, no one's going to win in that situation. Just move on, comes with the territory. And I've been good on that promise up until this past week. And it was a few days after the self-spreading vaccine video. And a woman left a snarky, terse comment that said, "Can anybody say chemtrails?" And I just knew it was from some liberal progressive who had stumbled onto this video and was saying, your self-spreading vaccine theory is just like the non-existent chemtrails. I could almost picture her. And I couldn't help myself. And so I snapped back and I wrote, "Can anyone say I'm sleepy?" Indicating that she was not spiritually awake. I felt good about myself. Bad, but good. A few minutes later, she responded with, "I don't understand. I was trying to agree with you." Oh, she meant, why don't they put the self-spreading vaccine in chemtrails? That's what's probably going to happen. That was her point. It's a good one. And I attacked her. Well, I immediately apologized, of course. Oh, I misunderstood. I normally don't. Please forgive, but I never heard back from her. So I don't know if she saw the apology. She may have gone away going, wow, what a jerk. Tried to agree with him and he got snappy with me. You see, that's what we've got to watch out for. Thinking that we're right and we're not. Just like the first century Jews, their expectations of the Messiah didn't match up with reality, and they walked right past him, unbelievably. We can do that too, as we move into these serious days that sure look like prophecy. But back to the situation with the woman. I can't do that ever again, and you can help me. After you watch this video, leave an insulting comment. Attack me. Attack the way I look, the way I talk, what comes out of my mouth, my house I live in, the decorations, the equipment, anything you want. You could go after, my parents are dead, go after them though if you want, because I got to harden up. I can't do this anymore. When the next time someone leaves a critical comment, I got to be able to go, please. I just had some guy say my deceased mother was the whore of Babylon's role model. You think I'm going to respond to that little insult? So that'll help me. If you would do that, I'd appreciate it. Don't go after the low-hanging fruit like, why is there a mirror behind me? Because I'm going to move it into the other room and hang it on the wall in there, but it's heavy and I had to stick it somewhere. Is somebody sleepy? Wake up, everybody. Okay. All right. Today we're going to take a look at something very interesting. There are three event lines in the book of Revelation. Now, if you are one of the people who just recently subscribed to me, and for some reason I've had a little rush lately of a couple hundred extra people joining our little get-together, let me just quickly explain why. I'm going to do this in like a minute. I'm going to try and do this in like a minute. Earlier this year, I was puzzled by the sixth seal. In the sixth seal, we see the day of the Lord declared twice inside the sixth seal. Now, you know what I think about the sixth, fifth, fourth, numbering the seals. It's not important, but it's a point of identification of where I'm talking about. And I couldn't figure out, well, wait a second. Every mountain and island's moved out of its place. Stars are falling to Earth. The atmosphere is being ripped off the planet. Everyone's hiding in caves. And then when you open the seventh seal, everything's back to normal. They're buying and selling. They're trading gifts when the two witnesses die. When Babylon is destroyed, there are merchant ships everywhere, seamen, captains, traders. I mean, how did they get out of that situation? I mean, at the end of the sixth seal, they're going, it's the day of the Lamb, and who is able to stand against his wrath? Well, apparently they are, because they get back to normal. Looking at it carefully and getting help, a prayer was answered, I absolutely believe, on April 14th, the morning of April 14th at 4 a.m. I had a little prayer answered, and I went back in and I saw, oh, my aching back, there are three event lines That's the framework of the book of Revelation. Event lines, testimony lines that lead to the day of the Lord. And then there's a celebration in heaven because it's over. And then the next event line begins, and its events lead up to the day of the Lord, and they celebrate in heaven. And then the third event line begins and leads up once again to the day of the Lord at the seventh bowl of wrath. We should have believed that the angel who stood up and swore to God that when the seventh trumpet was blown, that's it. And when it's blown, they celebrate in heaven because it is over. It's over 3 times. And each of those day of the Lord events has an earthquake, because there's going to be a rapture resurrection on right before the day of the Lord to get the people who are his off, because destruction is coming. That does not mean there's not another rapture resurrection that fits the pre-trib mode. I'm hoping there is, and I will maybe touch on that briefly in just a couple of minutes. But that's what I mean when I talk about the 3 event lines. I'm solid on that. I'll dig my heels in on that. That's true, and you can read it for yourself, and you can see the truth of that. I haven't even been able to, that's just scratching the surface of what is there. But we have to understand that's the framework. So in this video, we're going to ask the question, each event line has a beginning event. Has that event happened in any or all of the 3 event lines? This is something, as we move into this uncharted territory, well, we're charted, pointing to the Bible in here somewhere. The Bible is a chart. Of course, we're charted, but we haven't experienced this before. And so we're going slowly and looking around going, my aching back, how did half the world get crazy overnight? We need to sit down and go, where are we? And put our expectations of what we think the tribulation is going to look like, and whether or not we're going to be here or not be here, and just take a true, honest assessment of where do we stand. That's what I want to do right here and now. Now, having said that, this is not going to be a video for hyper pre-tribulationists. Hyper pre-tribulationists believe that the rapture happens in the beginning of chapter 4, when John is called up into heaven and he sees the 24 elders, and that's the church. I don't believe that. Okay, here's why I don't believe that. There's no earthquake there. The Holy Spirit has gone out of his way to set a pattern for us to see. When there's a rapture resurrection, there's an earthquake. There was one at the Lord's resurrection, and ever since then, when you see the word earthquake, it's referring to a rapture resurrection event, including the one in Acts. Is a symbolic, metaphorical rapture resurrection. Paul and Silas are in prison. They're chained there. Get it? Death has a hold on them. They're stuck like everyone was stuck. But then the earthquake came that released our Lord, resurrected. Well, the earthquake was really the side effect of his resurrection. And that's what is being shown there. There is an earthquake that night in the prison. The chains fall off their arms and legs. The doors fly open because there's a way of escape now from death that had a hold on us. It's a beautiful, poetic look. And again, the Holy Spirit is using earthquake. There's no earthquake in chapter 4. Okay? That's why I don't believe that. So look, you have every right to your opinion. You can even leave a nasty comment without watching the video. That'll help me. But you shouldn't stick around. It's just going to make you mad. So why don't we do this? Why don't I shake your hand, pat you on the shoulder, and point you to the exit? No, I'm not throwing you out. I just think, hey, go on ahead to if you're a hyper pre-tribulationist, go ahead and head to the exit. There you go. There you go. Don't worry, we're not going to talk bad about you when you go. Just head on out. Everything's good. Morons. No, I'm kidding. Of course, they're not morons. Prophecy is tough. Prophecy is tough. All right. There are 3 events that begin the 3 event lines. Let's take it from the bottom up. The third event line is begun by the Revelation 12 sign. The first event of the next one is 30 minutes of silence in heaven. Silence in heaven begins that event line. The top event line is begun by the rider on the white horse. Let's go back to the Revelation 12 sign. And let's ask the question, yes, maybe, or no. Be the three possible answers. Has the Revelation 12 sign happened? I say yes. Now, the people who say no are going to be your hyper pre-tribulationists, and there shouldn't be any left in the audience at this point, or people who think it's somehow associated with astrology, the September 23rd, 2017 event that took place in the heavens. It's not astrology, it's astronomy. You should be aware, just in case you aren't, Josephus, who was a priest in the temple, who wrote the magnificent complete works of Josephus that everyone should read if you get a chance. These are tough times to find time to read a 900-plus page book or a series of books, but it's fabulous. He points out as a priest in the temple that the 12 loaves of showbread were understood for eons by the priests, that they represented the 12 constellations of the Mazzaroth, or the zodiac, the ecliptic, those constellations that the sun moves through each and every year. They're important to God. Astrology, forbidden. Astronomy and constellations are given by God. That should not bother you. The other thing that bothers some of the people who look at the Revelation 12 sign, they go, well, where's the other one? Where's the serpent? Where's the red thing that's supposed to be devouring the... I want you to look carefully at what the Revelation opening of Revelation 12 actually says. Now, a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a garland of 12 stars. Then being with child, she cried out in labor and in pain to give birth. And another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great fiery red dragon. Well, that's another sign. I'm only concerned about the opening sign. There are two signs. One, a great sign of the woman, sun clothing her and moon under her feet. And then another sign comes. Yes, she shows up in that sign as well. That's another sign. It's not a continuation of the opening sign. It's like if I told somebody, I had two of the strangest dreams. In both dreams, I had a man in a pinstripe suit. And he was running around doing stuff in the first dream. In the second dream, there was another man, and he started chasing the man in the pinstripe suit. And then after I finished telling you that those two boring dreams, you say, so you had one dream? No, I had two dreams. The pinstripe suit guy was in both of them, but they were two separate dreams. I want to know, is the great sign that appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, has that happened? I say yes. On September 23rd, 2017, I think that was the opening, the eye-opening, and the ear-opening sign to the church of get ready. Because only we noticed it. Only we noticed it. And I believe it. Now, I don't believe it to the point where I'm going to say yes like this. I'm going to say a mild, firm, but not overly firm, yes. I could be wrong, but if that's not it on September 23rd, I don't know what to expect. But if it did happen, indicates that event line is moving. It's working, and it's happening in our lifetimes, and it's moving towards the day of the Lord now. At some pace, I don't know how many years. Most people say 7. I'm fine with that. Some say 3.5. Okay, prove your point. I'm fine with that too. But it's moving towards the day of the Lord. And there are events in between the Revelation 12 sign and the 7th bowl of wrath. And I hope we're not going to see many of them, to be honest with you. But if we do, we do. The event line above it is begun by silence in heaven. What is the 30 minutes of silence in heaven? I mentioned Josephus a few moments ago. When I read that a few years back, as we got into 62, 63 AD, it was like the wheels fell off of Israel's society, culture, and government. They were getting the absolute worst leaders, the absolute worst crime. There were towns that would attack another town inside Israel over some slight that was never resolved. Actually, get together, a group of men from one town, let's go attack that town. Traveling was dangerous. Everyone was corrupt. Remind you of anything? And then they got this delusional thought. It's the worst thought any nation in history has ever had, probably, or tied for number one. The thought was, and not everybody believed it, but enough people believed it in Israel that they actually acted on it. The delusional thought was, we can win our independence from Rome simply by beating them militarily. They didn't understand how crazy that was. That's like your local high school football team actually believing they could not only beat an NFL team, They could beat the Super Bowl champs that year. They don't have a chance, and neither did Israel. That delusional thought got them wiped off the map. We're seeing the same stuff happening now. And my point is, back then it seemed like God was just saying, I'm going to step back. My hands of protection are off you. I'm going to let you go with the sick, demonic powers of principalities that you're listening to without restraint. I'm going to let you do your thing. I think he somehow throughout history is able to allow us to have freedom of choice and kind of constrain the events at the same time. But I think at some point he just says, hands off, go ahead, have at it. I think that's maybe what is happening now, and I think maybe the silence in heaven reflects that. Oh, I could be wrong on that. I could be wrong on that. I'm just saying that's a possibility, because right now things are crazier than they have ever been, and it certainly feels like he's letting the world go forward with their own insane mentality. So for this one, I'm going to say maybe. A maybe leaning towards yes, but maybe. All right, the next one, the top line of events. This one is interesting. I could take the easy way out and go, oh, that's Jesus, and he's conquering to conquer with the gospel. And so we know that's already open. It was opened in the first century, and yeah, so that one's open. I'm not saying that's a crazy idea. I got problems with it, but it's a good enough of an idea that I'll say I'll put that on the table. I'm not attracted to it, but I also say I'm not going to take it off the table because it's worthless. I don't believe that is worthless. I just have a problem with it. I also have on the table, if someone says it's the Antichrist pretending to be the Lord. Okay, I put that on the table. Yeah, absolutely. But there is a possible another explanation. And it's going to come from two different people, and I'm going to combine them and see what you think as a possibility here. Derek Gilbert, who I like, he's on Skywatch TV, one of the founding members of that with Tom Horn, and it's a great group of people. I disagree with some of the prophecy stuff they say, but they're wonderful people, especially Derek and his wife, Sharon. And Derek is an expert at ancient deities and the cultures they came from and how they morphed from one culture to another and may have started off with a name of some deity and ended up in Rome as Artemis or Apollo or Aphrodite. He is great at that stuff. And his point on the four horsemen of the apocalypse, he believed that all four of those horsemen were well-known deities, false gods in the culture. First century Christians would have recognized each one of those false deities. And he believes the rider on the white horse may have been a god named Resheph. All right, here's what Wikipedia says about Resheph. Now remember, Theology 101 is it had to make sense to the original hearers. If the original first century Christians saw this as four well-known demonic false gods, then the Resheph idea is solid. Here's what Wikipedia says about Resheph. Was a deity associated with plague or a personification of plague. Later it says, also becoming associated with horses and chariots. So this rider on the white horse, if he is Resheph, big if, nobody's digging their heels in here and dying on this hill when we're saying if, he's associated with plagues, and everybody in the first century would have known that, who understood the culture and the times they were living in, okay? So now let's put that aside, and I want to go to another place. This one is a blog entitled The End Time Forecaster. It's managed by a Master of Divinity holder by the name of William Frederick, but the idea did not come from William Frederick. It came from a regular commenter by the name of Stan. Now, my name is Stan, but I'm not that Stan. It's a different Stan. And Stan's a brilliant guy, and Stan has some interesting thoughts. And Stan noticed something early on in 2020, and he said, let's go back to the eclipse that took place late December 25th into December 26th. It was an annular eclipse. So the moon's a little farther away, and when it covers the sun, it doesn't quite cover the sun, and it leaves its corona or crown showing. And what Stan did was he went to Stellarium, the astronomical online freeware developed by astronomers and astrophysicists, lets you know where everything in the sky is on any date you want to look. And he went back and took a look at where that eclipse formed. Now take a look at this as I read the description of the rider on the white horse. And I looked, and behold, a white horse. He who sat on it had a bow, and a crown was given to him. And he went out conquering and to conquer. That's a pretty startling picture, isn't it? Stan is suggesting that could the rider on the white horse be this whole coronavirus pandemic? Not just the supposed virus, the whole thing. That's what I'm asking you. Because when I saw that early in 2020, I thought, well, that's pretty good detective work. That's darn good, Stan. That really is. But we'll have to wait and see what develops. If this coronavirus thing just becomes like the swine flu, comes and goes, and we're all back to normal, then no, it doesn't rise to the level of something that belongs in the book of Revelation. But we have now seen that this thing is unlike anything I have ever seen. And given what Derek Gilbert is saying, that false god on the white horse represents a plague god, and we saw what happened on December 26, 2019, just as the coronavirus was beginning to hit our newspapers and our radios and TVs. And we have seen the world change by it. I've never seen anything like it. Not just the virus, not just the vaccine, the totalitarian governmental action worldwide that's being taken. The careers that have been destroyed, the upheavals that it has caused, and it just continues on. And we haven't even reached the devastation of what it's going to do to the world economy eventually. You can't sustain this kind of activity. This world is as delusional right now as the Israelis were in the first century when they said, let's fight Rome. It's crazy. And there is no end in sight. This thing just keeps conquering. One way or another, it keeps rolling on. It's making people angry. It's setting apart governments and populations. It's dividing people. And again, there has never been anything like this. You would have to find an indigenous tribe somewhere that wasn't affected by it, because everybody else has been. It has changed the world. I say it rises to the level of an apocalyptic event. Does that mean it is actually in the book of Revelation? That's what we've got to decide. It's a fascinating possibility because of the uniqueness of what this pandemic has brought on the entire world. So I say maybe, again, leaning tiny bit. Just, okay, if I'm sitting straight, that towards yes. That event line has begun. So I have a yes and two maybes. And maybe you have three no's. And to you, I would say, can somebody say I'm sleepy? No, you have every right to your opinion. These are the things we've got to do because we're moving into we've moved into strange times. And it looks like they're going to continue getting stranger. And we need to be together and we need to talk these things through, and we can't make the mistake that the first century Jews made when their expectations somehow didn't match up with the beauty and the holiness of reality. Thanks for watching.